Okay, so welcome everyone. Please, we would like to know more about you. Can you share your name, where are you from, and which organization you belong to in the chat box? I would like to start with introducing some house rules. Please be informed that this webinar is being recorded and it will be published. So if you need to leave early, want to revisit the section, or share it with your friends, please do so by visiting KAICIID webinar YouTube channel, and you will find the link in the chat box. We hope that you will enjoy the conversation with our guest speakers. If you have any question, please put them in the QA box in the bottom of the screen. And if you would like to direct the question to a specific speaker, please indicate as such. Moreover, we would like to inform you that we have translation to Spanish. You can switch the channel on the globe icon you find on the bottom of right of your screen. Okay, so first of all, my name is Noor. I'm a WOSM representative, generally working on human rights and youth rights issues. Join me, please, to thank all of KAICIID, UNESCO, and the World Organization of the Scout Movement for organizing this webinar. I would also like to welcome our amazing speakers. Joining us from New Zealand, Professor Paul Morris, UNESCO Chair in Interreligious Understanding and Relation at Victoria University of Wellington. Rabbi Johnny Shalom from Latin America World Jewish Congress, Dr. Ali Lachenta, Scout of the World Award Coordinator for Thailand Riverside Scout Camp, Fatima Madaki, founder and the founder of Education and Sustainable Livelihood Youth Initiative, who is facing some technical problems and we will join us later for sure. Chetan Morgal, joining us from India, who's working on project of protection of cultural tradition, the Bharatanatyam dance and Yachenga. Okay, so before we start this dialogue with our speakers, I would like to ask a question for our audience. Please think about what cultural heritage or religious sites would you like to protect in your community? For example, an important temple in your city that needs some protection, or a special festival where people pay respect to an important and spiritual figure. Keep it in mind during our webinar and share your thoughts in the chat. I will collect your examples of cultural heritage and religious sites, and we will address what you can do about it toward the end of the webinar. Okay, without any further ado, let's start this webinar. I hope everyone is ready and excited as I am. The International Day of Living Together in Peace encourages reconciliation towards peace building, including working with different communities, faith leaders, and other relevant actors through reconciliatory measures and acts of service, and by encouraging forgiveness and compassion among individuals. Let us start with the first question to Professor Paul Morris. First of all, thank you so much, Professor, for joining us in this webinar. The preservation of cultural and religious sites is today more important than ever. In the 10 past years, it has become evident that religious sites are becoming a security concern. As a result, the UN has issued a plan of action to safeguard religious sites, to ensure that worshippers can observe their rituals in peace. I would like to know from you, how do you regard the linkage between security concerns and building sustainable, safe, civic, and cultural spaces?
Thank you, thank you. It's welcome, Harimai to New Zealand at 6 minutes past midnight on Thursday morning. We're way ahead of you. You mentioned the International Day of Living Together in Peace, which we're very close to now. And I wanted to start by being mindful of the deadly conflict in the Middle East and of COVID-19 in India elsewhere, which highlight the fragility and the difficulty of what sounds so simple, which is living peacefully together. And but you asked very specifically about the preservation of cultural and religious sites, and I think you're right that it's now more vital than ever. And it's more vital than ever because of the politicization and weaponization of religious sites. And so they raise very serious community concerns simply because of their significance and the role they are given by various conflicting forces. Many contested sites are linked, as in Jerusalem and Al-Quds today, by political and religious supersessions of the past, and they are available as focal points for escalating violence in the present. Religious sites, as you suggest, should be places of security, of gathering, of community, of solidarity, of spirituality and safety. But it's that very centrality as foci of faith that renders them as targets for dispute, for conflict, and sometimes for terror. On March the 15th, 2019, two suburban mosques in the city of Christchurch in my country, in New Zealand, became just such a target of a white supremacist identitarian terrorist who, as you know, murdered 51 people. The massacre in New Zealand is pertinent for our discussion today because following murders in synagogues and churches led the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, a few days later to call for the plan of action to safeguard religious sites by the UNAOC. And it was a very, the link is a very immediate one. The linkage between security concerns and being allowed to worship in peace has been highlighted by the politicization, the political understanding of sacred sites. Most recently, very evidently, the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul or the Ram Temple site in Ayodhya. And also by conspiracy theories of existential threats that usually are seen as coming from minorities and that can only be adequately countered with extreme violence. This dangerous paradigm highlights the significance of sacred sites for identity, both by adherents and murderous opponents. The sacred sites generate a misplaced violence that claims a degree of this sacrality. Now, the plan of action to safeguard religious sites was launched on the 12th of September 2019 with recommendations, very practical recommendations, to help prevent possible attacks against religious sites, to enhance preparedness and response. Guterres issued a global call to reaffirm the sanctity of religious sites and places of worship. He called them powerful symbols of our collective consciousness. When people are attacked because of their religion or beliefs, all of society is diminished. And he insisted that once again, houses of worship around the world must be safe havens for reflection and peace, not sites of bloodshed and terror. The plan links national programs to the SDGs and promotes mutual understanding between communities via education and interfaith dialogue in order to, as he puts it, counter hate and violence around the globe. This, along with a plethora of other national and international initiatives, has raised awareness about different forms of individual and collective violence and terrorism and strategies to combat extremism and develop modes of solidarities between faith communities and between faith communities and governments. Alongside this is a growing recognition of the cultural significance of places of gathering for collective identity, for the mobilization of communities, for developing resilience and individual and communal well-being. These civic spaces do need to be sustainable and increasingly play an integral and central role in creating social cohesion and social inclusion. And the opening up of religious communities to other religious communities and the public more generally, I mean, is part of this very plan. Sacred sites serve as a meeting point for developing dialogical civil spaces and an area for exchange of religious and cultural information. At the same time, work in this area has become more complex because shared and contested sites, as I said, have been weaponized, have become politicized as focal points for acts of religious or ethnic hatred, and in some cases for state-sponsored geopolitical agendas. Further, sacred places have multiple identities as sites both of living religious activity and of cultural heritage and memory. So I think to come back to your question, it's as vital now as it's ever been, if not more so. We find politically across the globe, I mean, a political marginalization with a kind of emptying evacuation of the middle ground. And part of this polarization is demarcation lines drawn in religious terms. So it isn't a time of peace. It's a time of aspiration towards progress for making these sites. Personally, the place I go to worship is now fortified. There are armed guards on mosques and synagogues, and steel doors on mosque, church, gurdwaras, temples, etc. And so the kind of securitization of our places of worship after Christchurch in New Zealand, I mean, is evident for us all. And while these are protections, the next part of that, the opening up of our communities to the wider public, is only just beginning.
Thank you so much, Professor Paul Morris. And I do agree that it's heartbreaking to see such historical house worship places, targets for attacks and targets for violence instead of being highly protected. So, Professor, your work is strongly correlated to religious and cultural heritage, especially of Indigenous religious and cultural sites. Can you please share with us how UNESCO is working to support the preservation of religious practices, including traditional knowledge and traditional culture expression?
Yes, UNESCO has played a lead role for the last 50 years or so, and continues to do so in protecting World Heritage sites. Of the UNESCO heritage sites, about 20% of them, 1 in 5, are explicitly religious or spiritual sites, as in holy religious sites or holy cities. And the largest single category for UNESCO of heritage sites are religious and spiritual ones. And so what's significant about this from UNESCO point of view is the claim that a significant quantum of the world's historical heritage, at least those they know about, as monuments and sites, are preserved under these auspices. And so there's a special category they call religious property, which is physical property which has religious and spiritual associations, churches, monasteries, shrines, sanctuaries, mosques, synagogues, temples, but it also includes sacred landscapes, sacred groves, and other natural landscape features. They've extended it over time to also include water that has particular spiritual significance to peoples and communities. Sacred sites are, according to UNESCO, the oldest protected areas of the planet, and they play a vital role in our cultural and biological diversity, and UNESCO sees this as significant as linking the past to the present and to future generations. The aims are not just to support and resource protection of physical sites of religious property, but also of living heritage, and to foster mutual exchanges of experience and dialogue between religions and cultures, aiming to foster respect for difference, for diversity, human diversity. UNESCO has reaffirmed the vital further role of religious communities in conveying, expressing, and sustaining spiritual identity, as they put it, meaning and purpose to human life, and considers this the notion of protection as essential and urgent in a fast developing and globalizing world. They're also aware exactly of the issues I began with, which is issues of weaponization, issues of sacred sites and traditions in war zones and in areas of conflict. But there is increasingly an acknowledgement that religious heritage represents a very special challenge. And while there is a growing list, and UNESCO's World Heritage List, specifically for these religious and spiritually significant places, they're also recognizing that religious sites need to be seen as part of what they refer to as larger ensembles, as historic temples, for argument's sake, are linked to historic cities, to particular cultural particular cultural landscapes and natural sites. And so there's an increasing awareness that you can't separate off the properties from their broader context. And this is particularly significant. There's also a growing emphasis on sustainable management and thinking of protection in terms of the SDGs as a contribution to the rapprochement of cultures and harmonious relations. Now, I just talk a little bit about cultural heritage. It refers to tangible cultural heritage, and tangible cultural heritage, painting, sculptures, coins, what I call museum stuff. There's immovable cultural heritage, archaeological sites, monuments, buildings. There's a growing interest and specialists working on underwater cultural heritage, shipwrecks, underwater ruins, and of course, underwater cities. But I want to come to intangible cultural heritage. This refers to oral traditions, performing arts, rituals, folklore, and very significantly language that all provide continuity between generations. And the final UNESCO category is natural heritage, which are not natural sites which have particular cultural, spiritual significance, but in themselves are physical, biological, or geological formations. Now, the older UNESCO view was largely focused on buildings, temples, cathedrals, etc., and the physical artifacts, the museum stuff. In more recent times, and increasingly so, there's a growing awareness that this privileges literate cultures and cultures that produce particular cultural forms. In the Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, the emphasis is much more on the practices, representations, and expressions, as well as knowledge and skills, ranging from instrument making to particular objects, artifacts, cultural spaces, that communities recognize and understand as part of their spiritual and religious cultural heritage. It's sometimes called by UNESCO living cultural heritage, and as I said, it's manifest in oral histories, narratives, language, performing arts, customary social practice and rituals, Indigenous craft and artisanship, and knowledges about the world and nature. We now regularly include all forms of artistic creation Cuisine and food heritage is a growing area of interest. Song, dance, music, drama, created cultural or ritual spaces. These are forms of culture that can be recorded but can't be stored in physical form. You can't put, they're not museum stuff. And they can only be experienced through a vehicle giving expression to it. In Te Reo Māori, these are called taonga, or human treasures. They're manifestations of identity, intangible cultural heritage, or living heritage. And this is the mainspring of humanity's cultural diversity, and its maintenance, not only a guarantee of linking biological continuity to cultural continuity, but also for continuing creativity. The whole area, this whole area of cultural heritage is very much contested and very lively in Aotearoa, New Zealand, where I'm from. We've had 2 statues and historic monuments in New Zealand taken down. George V has been decapitated 5 times over the years. The whole issue of colonization, post-colonialism, post-imperialism isn't a theoretical matter in Aotearoa, New Zealand, but a lived reality and a central and daily fact of our lives. Recent statues under attack include Colonel Marmaduke Nixon, Governor Grey, John Hamilton, a British naval officer killed during the New Zealand land wars by Maori. The colonial era and the later glorification of it raise again these issues, not so much of the past itself, but the past as recreated at some point in the past. We had a major concern last year with the rejection of the berthing of the replica of Captain Cook's the Endeavour to celebrate its 250th landing in New Zealand. It was cancelled amid anti-colonization protests. Now, there are issues about war monuments, which are dedicated to Europeans who died in battle, and of course the statue of Victoria, who there's one at my own university, she's everywhere. And so issues of naming cultural heritage and cultural heritage are amazingly evident in New Zealand. This is this broadening of understanding has raised intriguing legal battles over protecting intangible cultural heritage through intellectual property rights and the need to combat cultural appropriation. And globally, particularly for New Zealand Indigenous culture, issues of the haka, issues of Maori moko and tattooing, design are increasingly being protected against cultural appreciation. Maori heritage, described as Ngā tonga tuki o Nia Tupuna, are treasures handed down by ancestors. A wide range of different places and items, from the physical and tangible to the natural environment and the intangible.
Thank you so much. You mentioned at the end the challenges relating to Indigenous communities. We would like to know more. In what way does all of this feed into some of the challenges relating to these Indigenous communities and more established traditional religions?
Okay, there's 2 parts there. The recognition of Indigenous cultural heritage has challenged not only the particular privileging of cultural categories, but challenged the categories themselves, the categories that UNESCO and other bodies use. So, for example, the distinction between natural heritage and cultural heritage, so clearly made by UNESCO, is not made in the same way by many different groups of Indigenous peoples. So tangata whenua, Maori in Aotearoa, New Zealand, understand the natural world to be animated and alive and penetrate fully with the human and natural cultural worlds, so that natural phenomena can be persons, not just personified, but persons. So the Wanganui River, Te Ora Tupuna, in 2019 became a legal person as a result of a court decision. Cosmological rather than modern legal understandings of person, of ancestor, and of identity. Koe te oa, ke te awa ko'au. I am the river, and the river is me. Te Urue, the national park of the Tuhoi tribe, became a person in 2014, and Mount Taranaki, a legal person in 2018. So this is extended, of course, to Gangamar, to the River Ganges, and the Yamuna, although it was later revoked there, and is now happening around the globe. But here, integral to Indigenous cultural heritage, the preservation and protection of Indigenous cultural heritage, has been a radical departure from legal norms. And this, as I said, both challenges the way that UNESCO has thought about it, and it refracts on the ways, the refraction from Indigenous culture has caused people to re-examine the dominant categories of the preservation of other cultures. So that, for example, the enculturation of natural phenomena in Western cultures, or the recommendation of legal initiatives such as persons, allow for the enculturation of natural heritage culturally. And so Indigenous frames of reference are having an impact on the broader understanding of particularly Western preservation and protection of cultural heritage. New Zealand is very indebted to UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The Te Waipunama, which in Maori means the Greenstone Waters, is a more than 2.5 million hectare site, about 10% of New Zealand's total land area, which is preserved as a natural heritage. But the issues, the question you raised was about Indigenous communities. Indigenous communities, well, in New Zealand and elsewhere, are under threat from the processes of globalization. They're under threat from, particularly from the COVID pandemic, from economic pressures and ongoing social justice issues, systemic racism, and forms of deeply embedded oppression. They're also, the categories used are very different. And so, for argument's sake, in our last census in New Zealand in 2018, half of Maori claimed to have no religion. But these people who claim no religion participate in Ritenga, participate in Maori rituals. And so they participate in what I might define as, and what you might define as religion, but they understand it as culture. And this culture includes tahawaira, spirituality. The category of religion is seen as colonial and very often as Christian. So the issue facing Indigenous communities in Aotearoa in New Zealand is the real right to self-determination and self-definition and self-understanding. And this throws up huge challenges if we're taking it seriously for Indigenous understanding as it meets other understandings and other projects such as the preservation and protection of cultural heritage. An example would be Te Puni Kukuri, the Ministry of Maori Affairs, has just issued a report about Maori self-determination. And it's turned out to be challenged and very provocative because it's very difficult to talk about issues of sovereignty, of giving Indigenous people within the confines or within the networks of a modern nation state, genuine and fulsome self-determination. And of course, it's that self-determination and self-understanding that we need to acknowledge is the framework for partnership in relation to protection and preservation. In terms of established religions, in Aotearoa, but not only that, but in Australia and Canada and Western Europe and in the United States, religious identification is declining. Religious communities, the mainstream religious traditions are ethnicizing, and religiously and politically are polarizing. I mean, all these raise issues about...
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor
Okay,
Paul.
you're stopping me. Okay, you're stopping me in sentence. But that is an added issue.
It's not like that.
It's good.
It's not like that. That was very interesting, and we really appreciate all this kind of information. Meanwhile, I would like to ask all panelists to check the Q&A. Please answer the participant question. But I will build on what you said on the beginning. Religious sites are representative of the history, the social fabric and traditions of people in every country and community all over the planet, and must fully be respected as places of peace and harmony where worshippers feel safe to practice their rituals. My question now is directed to Rabbi Johnny. How you are working on interfaith dialogue initiative in Latin America. So can you tell us what best contributes to building dialogical and inclusive religious spaces by staying united in our diversity? How we can do that, and moreover, what are the opportunities that lie in preservation of sacred sites and cultural heritage?
Okay, hi, hello to everyone. I'll try to make it short and right to the point. So the first thing is to ask, what does it mean to preserve sacred sites and cultural heritage? And in fact, what is a sacred site? How we can define a sacred site? So I want to share with you two possible approaches, one philosophical and one technical. The soul and the body. So this is, first of all, a question of objective or a subjective issue. A sacred site is a site that has this sacred thing by itself, or is something that we put on it. Is something objective of the site, or is something subjective of the people who understand there is something special. If I understand that there is a tension between these approaches, and I can take and grasp that I have to have a kind of empathy with what the other feels to that side, I can be close to him or to her. So I want to share with you that one of the problems is not understanding why a holy place, a sacred place, is sacred to the other. And I want to share with you an experience I had. Many years ago, I had a trip with my organization, with the Latin American Jewish Congress. We took several Christian priests to Israel. We were a couple of rabbis and also many Christian priests. And we went to Israel to know, to recognize, and to share what does it mean a sacred place to the other. So, as a rabbi, as a Jew rabbi, of course, I could feel how they felt when they entered a sacred place, a holy church, or so many places we can visit in Israel. I would love to do that also with Muslims. They also came with us to the Kotel there in Jerusalem, to synagogues, and this is the other thing. The body, the body of this issue is a technical one. You know, we need material assistance to live, and this is an administrative thing. You know, when you have to raise money to do fundraising, there is a principle. Before you go out and look for money and look for anything, before the fundraising is the friend raising. You need to have friends. You need to be close to the other. When you have that confidence, when you have that empathy, when you have this closeness to the other, it is easier to understand and also to grow and also to raise anything you need. So what happened there in that trip is that we not only could understand the thinking of the other, we not only could feel what the other felt, but we made friends. We made friends. So we could go out at night and drink something. We could share our experiences. We could learn together. And we could understand the human aspect, the human dimension of what does it mean to be in a holy place. So when I can feel with the other, this place, although it is not sacred to me, it is important to me. So I really believe that is a fundamental key to preserve and to understand what is a holy place.
Thank you so much for sharing this story. And as you said, yes, that place is an amazing place, full of sacred sites, as you said. And I hope that you visited the Al-Aqsa Mosque or Masjid Al-Aqsa in Palestine. This is also a very good place. Good that you enjoyed that trip. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Crystal Nacht initiative, your initiative. What we want to know first is, especially for those who don't know exactly what does it mean, would you like to explain that for them?
Of course. First of all, and to clarify again, I really would love to make that very trip with Muslim friends. There are so many holy places for Muslims, so important and so wonderful. Really, I went alone, but I want to share that experience. So I want to clarify that I will really enjoy and love. So Kristallnacht is it's also called the Night of Broken Glass, or the November Pogrom. A pogrom is a violent riot aimed at the massacre of or expulsion of an ethnic or religious group, particularly one aimed at Jews. It has its origin in Russia, but every aggression from a group to the Jews it has a common root to pogrom. And this special pogrom was in November of 1938, where the German authorities in the Nazi government went out and destroyed so many places, holy places, and not regular holy places, because my home is a holy place. My place of work is a holy place. Not if, again, how do we define a holy place? If we only try to understand a holy place as a church or a synagogue or a mosque, we are limiting the term. There are so many holy places. So they go out and destroy many houses, many places of work, many synagogues, and its name comes from all the crystals that were on the floor because of the glasses and stuff. And it's ironical because they also aim the Jews for that pogrom. So we were guilty for destroying our places. They destroyed our places and we were guilty to them. So every year we have a commemoration where we also remember the 6 million of murderers, Jewish murderers in the Shoah, in the Holocaust. And we have a special commemoration in this aspect. It was an interreligious one. I had two very good friends. One of them is a Christian priest who I had this trip with him. Another one is a Muslim lady I care her about very much. And in fact, she is part of the KAICIID also. And I spoke with them. I have also a short video. I don't know if we have enough time, but I wanted them to be here also because they were part of this. And we decided to do something together. We decided this issue is not only of the Jews. When we care about holy places, when we care about life, it's a matter of all of us. So we made a special event, and we tried to join different organizations in a interreligious commemoration, and we had six sections for those 6 million of fallen people, Jewish people in the Holocaust, and also bring different representants. We had the ambassador of Germany in Argentina. We have also the interreligious space with a declaration, and we also had a special artistic and musical space where, in this case, Christians and Jews sang together. So we have the Muslim lady who shared this declaration, the joint musical part all together. I want to share you just to let you know how is it. Just a minute. I don't have a short video. I have a long video, but I will make it short.
Yeah, please, share with us the most important part of the video.
Yes. So I will be displaying.
Okay.
So, can you see the screen? The video
yes.
on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is Eugenia Anger. She's a survivor of the Holocaust. Because, there is so denial of what happened. This is holy to you, only to you. it's something that you created. It didn't happen. That is one of the most terrible things we can hear. So we started with a survivor of the Holocaust in Argentina. Everything is in Spanish, so I will split. I made an introduction. Then we had the ambassador of Germany also here with us, also to understand that this is important to every one of us, to the whole society, not only for religious one. We had my friend Sebastián Rizzo. He's a father, a priest, a Christian Catholic priest. He also gave us a speech. We have the musical moment, first the Christian one, then the Jewish one, and then joined together. We have also the president of the delegation of Jewish communities in Argentina. We have many delegations. Each one of them came to light a candle for each million of deaths. And then we had the joint declaration. This is Nancy, my Muslim friend, also here in the KAICIID, and she was the responsible to share the declaration against any kind of violence to any kind of religion or place or dimension. So the original thing, this is the declaration here. Okay, it is in Spanish also. But the original thing was not only that we made it all together, but also we sang all together. And that is a very good way to show to the other. And in fact, this is in YouTube, so anyone can see it and can learn from it.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing that video. And I would like to ask you to share the link. If it's on YouTube, share the link on the chat with the participants if they want to go back to it later. But like, if we quickly can have more information about, okay, I can see why you want to start this initiative. I can feel that in your words, and it's very clear. But like, from where did you get that first idea, and what do you wish to achieve?
So I have participated in many commemorations here in Argentina, but it was only with the Christian church. There was no an active participation of the Muslim world. Why not? Why not? So I wanted to share, first of all, not only people speaking. It is boring. I wanted to do something different, an artistic one. So as well as I started to share things, as well as I share a trip, to share songs, to share spaces of music, to share spaces also with Christians, with Muslim. I would love every religion to join us, but not only to speak each one of them separately, but to do something together. This is the different thing I wanted to create in this kind of commemorations. Not only to bring a representative to show and to say that we always can hear peace is very important. Okay, so what do we do? So to have a common space to sing together, we are making more and more friends.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Moving directly to Dr. Ali Larchanta. Dr. Ali, you are working on the preservation of UNESCO World Heritage Site Sukhothai. The project was awarded with the Patrimonito Scout Badge. Can you tell us more about the meaning of the Patrimonito Recognition Badge?
Thank you so much. For the Patrimonito Recognition Badge, is project that collaboration between both Scout and UNESCO through Scout activity, because we think that the young people is the future of our world. So it is their duty to do something for the World Heritage Site, and they need to concern how to how important to preserve all these places. So where this idea, this project come up to promote the importance of World Heritage Site, especially the culture and the cultural and religious press, and to involve young people to take care of the place with their project. So when the scout would like to do something to the community, so they need to do project. And this project we call as Scouts of the World Award project, which is the project that let the young people who are 18 to 25 to work with the community to take care, to develop the place or the things or the problem in their community by their own, by themselves. So for this project, they need to do Scouts of the World Award project as well, but they need to choose to work in the World Heritage Site. And in Thailand, they choose to work in Sukhothai historical town. And this place is 1/3 of World Heritage Site in Thailand. It is very, very big. Inside of this place, we have the temples, we have palaces, we also have the place for camping for the scouts as well. So they think that they would like to choose this place to do this project. And after they finish this project, after the young people finish this project, they will get the Scouts of the World Award badge. I mean, badge. What is badge? Badge is the how to say, for the Scout. When we do something, you will get a good turn, and normally we will use a badge as a symbol. So same thing. For if they finish the Scouts of the World Award, they will get the Scouts of the World Award badge as well. But more than that, they will get a Patrimonito Recognition badge as well, to remind them that they are even more special because they do something for community, and they choose the very hard place, the special place to do the activity. So it is the meaning of the Patrimonito Recognition badge.
Thank you so much. Please, I would like to invite you to check the links that we will share with you on the chat, so you can know more about the Patrimonito badge and the work that the World Organization of the Scout Movement is doing together with UNESCO to protect cultural sites. So, Dr. Ali, would you like to tell us what did you do exactly in this project to raise awareness on the importance of preservation of the religious and cultural heritage of the historical town Sukhothai? And how did you become a heritage guardian?
Oh, very nice question. I would like to share like this. Through the Scouts of the World Award project, all the young people have the step to learn to develop themselves three main steps. The first one, it is the explore. Explore meaning that they need to get a lot of information about the peace, environment, and development. For these three aspects, they can choose the place to work with and align with these three main aspects as well. So when they choose to do something in Sukhothai, because they are the people who grow up in Sukhothai, and their family like stay there for like ages. So I asked them that if you are the one who grow up in this place and your family also stay here for ages, and your family in the future also stay here for like many years in the future, it is your duty, right, to do something like that. So in the explore step, I let them to meet a lot of resource person. I let them to talk with people like very old in the community, and also the one who take care of the site. And we talk about the changes about the place, how it changed, and how things ruins in the by the time, something like that. So after the process of this step, they can take time to think, and after that I let them to respond how they think. During this time they will get the awareness via the activities. And also I let them a teacher who are also the community people, and they know how to lead all the young people to think about the importance of the historical site and how to do. Because sometimes they will feel like, this thing is too big, I cannot make it, I cannot be the one who take care of it, it's too big, something like that. But it is our duty to show them and give them the idea that what they can do. So after the explore and response, and they will come up with the project. When they going to start the project, I also let the people from the community to take part of it. And when they give the idea, exchange the ideas all the time during this process, all the young people will get the awareness and really think that they need to be that one to take care of this place. And also in the same time, when the young people have this kind of idea, the people from the community also have the same idea. Because when the conversation come from their mouth that you need to do something, that thing, that this thing, something like that, it also remind themselves that it is not only the duty for the young people, but it is also the duty for them as well to do something. When it is like that, the project start, everyone come together, and then they do the project together. Our project is renovating the building in the scout camp, and it is a public scout camp that belong to the province. So everyone can come and use for free. And it is and it located in the World Heritage Site. So they need to talk with so many officer from UNESCO, Thailand, because they will have the limitation how to renovate, what can do, what cannot do, something like that. And they also need to find a lot of money, because they renovate, like it is around almost 100 rice. It is so big, so big, more than 50 acres, something like that. And it is so big, so they need to use a lot of money. So during that time, they need to find the money as well. They need to find a budget for renovating things. So they go to the market and play the guitar. When they do the guitar, everyone come and ask them, what are you doing? Why you have to earn money? What you gonna do for this money? They convey the message. When they convey this kind of message, many times, people in the community also have the same idea. And you know what? In the day that they start the project, a lot of people in the community come to help them with the equipments and also their energy to do the building. So I can say that it is how we raise the awareness in Sukhothai place.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You shared how you raise awareness, how you include both young people and the rest of the community members in this project. My question is, Dr. Ali, why it is important to recognize the effort of young people in this area?
As I said before, the young people is the future of the community. So we will need to let them to understand and get the point that if it is not them, gonna be who? And if they don't start now, gonna be when? So it is a thing that we need to start now. And they cannot, sometimes they have less experiences if we compare with us. So it is our duty to give them the idea and show them the way how they can do and show them how important is it. And then when we open the door and give, like, I gotta say, give them the right input and choose the option and choose the right options to process to them, and then they can choose. And after that, they will use this good inputs and also choose the right process. And then after that, there will be the right output and can process and can come up with the right outcome. So it is very important for us to let them be inside. After that, in the future, it's going to be their duty to take care of this kind of thing. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali. Moving now to Fatima, who has years of experience in youth, education, gender, leadership, economic empowerment, peace building, conflict management, and research. One of her projects is building consonance on the protection of holy sites, an interfaith peace-building project promoting the protection of holy sites from destruction and desecration in northern Nigeria. Welcome, Fatima, and thank you for joining us. Can you tell us more about the project idea and the outcomes?
Mrs. Fatima, would you please unmute yourself? We don't hear you in case, and if it's possible to turn on your camera, thank you.
Fatima? Okay, Fatima is here and we are just waiting for her to connect. While Fatima is back, let me move on to Chetan, who is with us here today from India. You know, throughout history, dance has been a universal language, right? It is the way we use to express ourselves, present our culture, and communicate with others without the need to use a word. Chetan is here to talk to us about his project, in a preservation of cultural heritage, specifically the Bharatanatyam dance and the Yachanga.
Can you hear me now?
Sorry. Okay, Fatima. Okay, never mind. Let's wait a little bit for Fatima, but meanwhile, Chetan, welcome and thank you for joining us. Can you tell us more about the dance?
Hello, can you hear me now?
It's muted again. Well, after a whole year of Corona and online webinars, technology is still not helping us very well, but like we adapt. So back to Chetan. I said the name of the dance is very interesting, and I know all of us want to know more. What does this dance mean to your community, and how you can ensure the preservation of such important cultural practice?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the moderator for the privilege. It is a belief of the nation that if a nation forgets its history or culture, it will lose its existence. So lots of effort has been taken for preserving the culture, tradition in India. One such effort is by using the art forms like Yakshagana and Bharatanatyam. If we go if we see the literal meaning of Bharatanatyam, Bha stands for Bhava, it means expressions. And Ra stands for Raga, it's nothing but music. Ta stands for Tala, it's a rhythm. And Natya is nothing but dance. So, as asked in the question, in order to answer the question, this art form contains, or it is a dance as a major center of attraction, accompanied by singers and instrumentalists. This form of art communicates messages through expressions, dance, and as well as music. It also includes colorful costumes, which would attract the audience, because nowadays attraction by the way of colorful costumes is very much necessary to each and every art form. In fact, if you take any example of the art form that is present on the world, where attraction to colorful dresses plays an important role in it. Bharatanatyam is a dance that is based on some noble principles. This dance is usually done to explain the spiritual ideas from Hindu texts. And if we are going to see another form of art, that is Yakshagana, that is being practiced in India, that too mainly it is practiced in southern part of India. Yakshagana literally means song of Yaksha, that is demigods. Yakshagana includes almost all types of skills like singing or dialogues, the dramatic conversations between the artists, and dancing, body languages, colorful costumes, makeups, etc. Like Bharatanatyam, here too we can find singers and instrumentalists, but also the dramatic conversation between the artists. This form of art depicts the ethical values followed in ancient times and is relevant, and it's of more relevance even today. Yakshagana provides full-fledged entertainment to every kind of viewer, because various audience or viewers may be of different interests, where a form of art may not be or may not find suitable for them. But in Yakshagana, every type of viewer can get maximum entertainment out of the art form. So Yakshagana art is also seen as a part or with much devotion. Individual skills of the artist is also presented before the viewers in Yakshagana. The theme is basically out of the holy scriptures like Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Bhagavata. Coming to the next part of the question, To answer that, why such art forms are very much important. When such art forms are preserved, people can know about the history. By this, people can understand how they should behave in a society and the consequence of inculcating negative personality. Another point to consider is that in my community, such art forms are very much respected by everyone. People always accept and adopt the message that has been ultimately communicated in the art form. Every art form focuses on doing good to everyone and ends by saying Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu, which means let entire world be happy. We are all striving towards making entire world to be in happy. Here, the wishing of goodness or happiness is not only limited to the nation, but to the entire world. So, to build this positive approach in a community, preservation of such cultural practices becomes very much important for my community. Only when such cultural practices or heritage are preserved, my community or nation can rise to its utmost ability. That's why such art forms become very much important to my community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chetan. This leads me to the next question. When you said it's very important to the community, so how you are measuring the impact of your project on the community itself? And moreover, what would you identify as major concerns when it comes to conservation and preservation of cultural heritage such a value?
Okay. To answer this question, we have to see various dimensions of the art. We, the Scouts of Bharat Scout and Guides India, work on protecting the cultural heritage of India. Preservation of any form of art can be done only when it is being passed to the next generation. So our project focuses on giving opportunities to Scouts or volunteers to learn, practice, and present the art forms at various occasions. So my project is basically upon the activities what we do in Bharat Scout and Guides, and what activities we give to our students or volunteers in this association. But the issue here is because of the advancements in technology and other factors, traditional art forms are less attractive to the present generation. But with the combined effort of Bharat Scout and Guides and other stakeholders of the society, various steps are taken to make Scouts involve more in learning the art forms and excel in it. So we, from the side of Bharat Scout and Guides, we organize various events like pageant shows. You know about pageant shows, wherein which there will be a procession and various art forms will be involved in it. So volunteers or the Scouts need to dress up according to their culture, and they have to exhibit their culture in front of everybody who are present in the camp. And the next one is about fulfilling the heritage proficiency badges. Here in Bharat Scout and Guides, we have various proficiency badges. Like, in order to attain better levels in Bharat Scout and Guides, a volunteer has to pass on various examinations. So as a requirement to complete the exams, they need to earn some of the proficiency badges, amongst which heritage proficiency badge is also one. And the heritage proficiency badge focuses on various conserving or preserving and as well as learning various art forms, visiting to various heritage places and learning about it, thereby passing it on to the next generation. And also there are few other activities like from a troop or from a crew, we take the volunteers or kids to an outing to various heritage villages, where they can learn more by watching and also feeling the environment that is present there. So if a volunteer takes part in such activities, then he will surely learn about heritage and its values. By doing all this as an outcome, so the impact, I'm going to say the impact of my project or of our project, by doing all this, we can see that the scouts or volunteers of Bharat Scout and Guides excelling in skills and values. Whenever any crisis to the nation occurs, like in times of COVID-19 pandemic and other natural calamities, volunteers of Bharat Scout and Guides will be standing in the first line to serve the society. This is according to the culture of the land, which says, Lokahitam Mama Karaniyam. We work for the betterment of the society and thus creating a better world to live. So by this, we are all serving the society, we are servicing the nation, we are servicing the entire world. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
You're muted, Noor. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Chetan, for sharing all this information about your project. I will encourage again all of Chetan, Rabbi Johnny, Dr. Ali to share the links to your project in the chat so people can know more and more about your work. Moving on to Fatima again. Fatima, please turn on your camera and turn on your mic so we can see if you are with us.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Okay, perfect. Yes, welcome, welcome, Fatima.
Thank you. I think it would be best if my camera is off so that I can...
Yes, this will be better, I guess. So I was saying at the beginning,
manage the pandemic.
Yes, I was saying that your project, Building Consonance on the Protection of Holy Sites, is an interfaith peace building project promoting the protection of holy sites from destruction in northern Nigeria. Can you tell us more about the project idea and the outcomes, please?
Hello?
Hi, did you hear my question or you want me to repeat it?
Repeat, please.
Yes, my question was, can you please share us more about your project, which is Building Consonance on the Protection of Holy Sites, and what are the outcomes of this initiative?
Thank you. The Building Consensus on the Protection of Holy Sites project was a pilot project that Search for Common Ground Nigeria did in northern Nigeria after working in the Holy Lands with different religious organizations and religious leaders to produce the Universal Code of Conduct on the Protection of Holy Sites, which has about 12 articles recommending activities that religious leaders can do together to deepen understanding of the issues, as well as demonstrate how places of worship can be protected from destruction or desecration. Some of the recommendations in the Universal Code include peace building activities, research, excavation, and preservation. Here in Nigeria, it was important for us to want to pilot activities around protection of holy sites, because according to a Pew Research, about 86% of Nigerians identify as people of faith. And since the early 2000s, particularly in places like Jos Plateau State in Nigeria, where there has been some conflicts around some resource-based conflicts, but also has had elements of religion as a trigger for conflict and violence, places of worship have been destroyed or desecrated as an attack on the other. So this was an opportunity to bring religious leaders together to, first of all, understand what the issues are and begin to track all this destruction that has been done so that we can know what value we are losing in destroying rather than building or rebuilding. We did this through different levels of conferences, from state level to regional level, as well as countrywide level, where we brought the leadership of Christian Association of Nigeria and Jamaat Nasrul Islam, which are the two main religious bodies in Nigeria. And they signed the Universal Code of Conduct, and it was adopted to the Nigerian context, where it looked at beyond just working together to deepen understanding among religious leaders, how can this be disseminated to their followers beyond the associations and even beyond the places of worship, to communities where there are people that are either hard to reach or barely have information regarding interreligious activities. So this was done utilizing media to raise awareness and provide a platform for religious leaders to share messages of peace and hope. We also identified that there's a need to amplify moderate voices of women and youth in this process. So we engaged with women and youth religious leaders as well, and they also were part of the development of peace messages that were disseminated through media, as well as organizing women-led, youth-led initiatives to expand the conversation. The crux of the message that came out of the intervention was that places of worship need to be recognized as sanctuaries of peace and learning, boosted through exchanges. And this has to be intentional. This is to model and mentor the young and upcoming people of faith to see that there's value in holding exchanges, in sharing knowledge materials, as well as extending invitation to organized programs where networking can take place. And then young people especially can experience the other, understand the other, and expand their perspectives about the other.
Thank you so much for sharing this information about this amazing initiative. You mentioned, Fatima, that you are including women also in this initiative. So basically you are working up close with them. So how do you see the role of women in building social cohesion? And how can women play a leading role in dialogue on protection of sacred sites?
Thank you so much. Women play a huge role as actors that have been found to be huge mobilizers of communities to come together. They are the huge conveners of communities to come together to sit and dialogue on issues. They are the great connectors, intergenerational connectors specifically, that bridge the gap between the old and the young, to have understanding, common understanding of issues. We've also found out that women are great analysts when it comes to conflict issues. The dimension and the perspective that bring has this gendered dimension that is often not looked at. It's often overlooked. So they are great mobilizers, they are great connectors, they are great analysts. And working with them shows that when systems carry women and youth along, it endures change over time. There's more resilience, because we've seen that they are good resource mobilizers. Unlike men, if I can put it that way, that have been used to having access to resources, either through support to do their initiatives, women look within and look at what they have immediately that they can use to achieve, even if it's little, the low-hanging fruit that connects them, that gives hope and is easily achievable. With that, hopefully, their effort would be recognized and more platforms would be provided for them. How I think women can do better is to have their leadership roles expanded. So women need to not only demand for this leadership, but also need to take up leadership roles to demonstrate their capabilities as conflict analysts, as providers of care, of support, but also to be able to participate in technical roles as research, because there's a huge need to do research to understand what are the underlying triggers of this conflict and why is it that places of worship become the easy target, and then also to find solutions that can bring people together to build our, on the values that we share, either culturally or religiously. So it is to take up more formal and recognized roles and to continue to use avenues that are available to them to amplify their voices. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatima. As we are reaching the end of this webinar, I would like to thank everyone who has participated with us, especially our dear speakers. Dr. Morris unfortunately had to leave us. It's like super late there in New Zealand, yet we appreciate that he stayed up in the night till now. At the end, and if we can conclude all what have been saying since the beginning, the preservation of the cultural heritage must be a joint effort. It's the responsibility of each and every one of us. We need to work together. We need to prioritize the interreligious dialogue to preserve the culture, to preserve the historical sites, and moreover, the sacred sites. Women and young people also are key element if we want to achieve this. I want to thank again all the participants. Please, I would appreciate if you turn your camera on for a picture. So we
Pass to the speakers, please.
Yes. Fatima, I know the connection is not so good, but like if you can do it. Yeah, thank you so much. We would also thank all the staff who has been working behind the backstages supporting us. Thank you so much for the KAICIID staff, WOSM staff. We appreciate your efforts. And one more thing, guys, please stay tuned on a KAICIID website, where there is another webinar co-hosted also by KAICIID and the World Organization of the Scout Movement, which will take place on Friday, the 21st of May. It will be on the use of dialogue, cultural diversity, and community development. Till that time, please stay safe. And if I'm allowed to say, a happy Eid to all the Muslims with us here. Tomorrow is the first day of Eid. Thank you so much again, and a goodbye, guys. Take care.